Trouble at the New Dawn B&B, a Cottonwood Springs Cozy Mystery, Book 8, by Dianne Harman, narrated by Becky Boyd. Prologue. It had not been a good day. It seemed like everything had snowballed downhill until their mind was ready to explode. Actually, it was probably one of the worst days they'd had in a long time. Just as soon as they'd think things were starting to turn around for them, something would happen that took the wind right out of their sails. What they really needed was a break, because dreaming about getting away from their problems wasn't working. They needed something more. A way to blow off some steam and have some kind of a new experience that would make them feel better. The seasons were starting to change, so they decided to go outside to try and clear their head. Maybe a bit of fresh air would help. They grabbed a jacket, stepped out onto the front porch, and shut the door quietly behind them. The sun was tucked behind the trees, casting everything in long shadows that stretched into unnatural shapes. Walking across the wooden porch and over to the steps, their footsteps echoed in the space beneath the porch and the ground below. When they got to the steps, they slowly sat down on the top step. A soft breeze rustled through the trees as a car drove by. They inhaled deeply, closed their eyes, and tried to push the stressful thoughts away. They attempted to shift their focus from their problems to the pleasant sounds of nature surrounding them, but the distraction wasn't working. Their frustrations followed them. No matter how many ways they tried to relax, nothing worked. Not today. They knew that looking at what was going on in their neighborhood probably wasn't going to help them, but they sat there just a little longer, watching the activities in the neighborhood, hoping it might have a calming effect on their jangled nerves. When they saw a little girl go riding down the sidewalk on her bicycle, they were envious of how carefree she looked. Her hair was flying back from her face, and her cute little cheeks were all puffed up because of her wide grin. She looked completely happy, just pedaling away on her bicycle, not even thinking she was probably old enough to ride her bike without the training wheels. I can't remember a time like that, they mused as they started to walk back to the door that led inside. A time when I didn't worry so much. They looked at the door, dreading going back into their house. They knew no one else was there, but they still didn't want to go back inside. It was as if the walls themselves were soaked in stress, but there was nothing else for them to do unless they wanted to stay out on the porch. When they were back in their house, they sat down at their computer and decided to scroll through social media. Maybe that would help silence the troubling thoughts that continued to rumble around in their mind. It was a way they could get away from their problems, at least for a little while. They started scrolling, but it didn't take long before a familiar ad popped up. The ad featured the new bed and breakfast that was coming to Cottonwood Springs. It had a nice photo of the place and spoke about how they were gearing up for their grand opening. The New Dawn B&B would be accepting reservations soon. In order to be one of the first to reserve a room, they suggested following them on social media or joining their mailing list. They scoffed. They had already heard enough about this new B&B to last them a lifetime. To a certain extent, they realized that their irritation at the new B&B was misplaced anger from everything else that was going wrong in their life. But even so, they couldn't shake it. Soon they found themselves clicking on the link and navigating to the site. Not that they hadn't already looked at it numerous times before. The website was informative and well put together. It had a dark green background with white lettering and featured another image of the place. It promised a date that reservations would start being taken and featured a countdown timer. Having a bit of experience with websites, they recognized the platform that had been used to build the website. This piqued their curiosity and caused them to navigate to what they suspected would be the page that allowed the admins of the site to log in. As the sun set, the room around them grew dark, and the laptop screen was the only light in the room. Their face was illuminated by the greenish glow given off by the computer screen.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?